Next, House Democrats announced their new legislative agenda. After that, a response from House Republican leaders. That's followed by speeches from today's Senate floor debate on the nomination of Porter Goss as CIA director. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and other House Democrats today announced a legislative agenda called the New Partnership for America's Future. This comes as the 10-year anniversary of the Republican contract with America approaches. This is just under 40 minutes.
Good morning, all of you and all of America.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day we have for this important event. I am Congressman Steny Hoyer of Maryland, the House Democratic Whip. And on behalf of all of my Democratic colleagues, I welcome you to this important event, the unveiling of the House Democrats' New Partnership for America's Future. This initiative directly responds to the hopes and aspirations of the American people. And it is the roadmap that we will use to lead this great country and make it stronger when the American people select us to lead this November 2nd. Our new partnership for America's future springs from the policies that we, as Democrats, are fighting for on national security, job creation, health care, education, veterans, and fiscal responsibility. And it affirms the values that all of us share. For example, Democrats recognize first and foremost that our highest duty is defending the American people and protecting our beloved homeland. Over the last 2 years, our Democratic caucus, under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi, has achieved unprecedented unity, fighting for clear alternatives to the misguided policies that are failing the American people. Today, my friends, we will hear from some of those Americans who will tell us about the policies they need and the congressional leadership they deserve. Speaking on behalf of all Americans are the following: Myra Bronstein, Thomas Caulfield, Sarah Goldman, Jennifer Davis, Luis Torres, Tina Friedman, and Craig Rice. We will also hear from Democratic members of the Congress. You will hear about this partnership, how it animates the soul of this great party, how it speaks to the hopes and dreams of all of our American people. Speaking on behalf of the House Democrats are Representatives Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut, John Murtha of Pennsylvania, Kendrick Meek of Florida, Hilda Solis of California, Edward Markey of Massachusetts, and John Tanner of Tennessee, representing from sea to shining sea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our great Democratic leader who has brought unity to our caucus and vision to our country, Nancy Pelosi of California.
Steny, for your kind words and your great leadership in uniting the House Democrats. Let's hear it for Steny Hoyer. For Steny. Throughout our nation's history, hope and optimism for the future have always defined the American spirit. Our tradition has been to expand opportunity and strengthen family and community. A vibrant middle class and an informed electorate have formed the foundation of our democracy. Our sense of fairness has insisted that all Americans share in our prosperity and that our government be accountable to the people. As elected officials, as Steny has said, our first responsibility is to ensure our national security and to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Our new Partnership for America's Future reaffirms the commitment of House Democrats to these 6 core values for a strong and secure middle class: national security, prosperity, fairness, opportunity, community, and accountability. Let us begin today's conversation by welcoming Myra Braunstein. Myra.
Thank you, Leader Pelosi. Good morning. I'm Myra Braunstein from Mercer Island, Washington. Hundreds of thousands of American workers are facing the same crisis I have endured for the past year: the loss of my job when my employer, Watchmark Corporation, decided to outsource my entire department to India. Can you imagine how humiliating it was to be ordered to train my own replacement or lose my severance pay? My experience has taught me that outsourcing threatens many kinds of jobs, from manufacturing to high tech. Outsourcing is part of a weak economy, where wages are frozen or cut, where health benefits and pensions are disappearing. Even money for unemployment insurance and job training is being cut. Millions of Americans, especially those without jobs like me, and those at risk of losing their jobs, want to work hard and want to share in America's prosperity. But it is getting harder every day. We wonder if Congress cares about helping us protect our middle-class standard of living.
Thank you, Myra. I'm Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut. Myra, Americans know that trade is important for our country, but it's important when we export our goods and not our jobs. The House Democratic Partnership is based on prosperity, providing all Americans with the opportunity to succeed and to live a secure and a comfortable life, including good jobs here at home, affordable health care, a growing economy with stable prices, investment in new technologies, and fiscal responsibility in government. Democrats are committed to a growing U.S. economy, with every American sharing in its success. America's workers are the most productive in the world, and we reject the idea that outsourcing millions of American jobs is good for our economy or good for our people. It certainly was not good for Myra. We will create 10 million new jobs over the next 4 years. Yes, yes. We will put forward housing and transportation initiatives, and we will make an unprecedented investment in advanced technology for the next generation of American workers. Prosperity is the promise of House Democrats to the American people.
Good morning. My name is Tom Caulfield from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War. Thank you, Congressman. As I said, I am a veteran of the Vietnam War. Today, I'm Regional Director of a Veterans Job Search Assistance Program, which provides vocational training to displaced veterans. The men and women in uniform are the bravest and best trained we've ever had. Our country needs to honor our promises to them and to those who have served and sacrificed for this country. I remember being told we'd never again send our troops into combat without the right weapons, that we'd never send our troops to war without having a plan to win the victory and the peace. And I remember being told we'd never turn our backs on our veterans. Congress must keep its promises to our men and women in the military and our veterans. Not just honor them with speeches. Too many older veterans and their families are denied the health care and economic security they were promised. Too many young veterans cannot afford college. And I know from personal experience how hard it is for veterans to get the high-skilled training they need to find good jobs, especially in economically hard-hit places like southwestern Pennsylvania. Veterans responded when their country called. They deserve better than long lines, delays, and excuses. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Goldman, and I'm a firefighter and emergency medical technician in Fairfax County, Virginia. America's police, firefighters, and other first responders make up the front line of domestic security. On September 11th, a day when so many of my brothers and sisters in uniform made the ultimate sacrifice, we learned many important lessons, including the need to improve our communication capability among the many agencies that respond to events like the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. But 3 years later, we still don't have the resources we need. Our fire and police personnel often can't even speak with each other to coordinate in life-threatening situations because we lack modern equipment. Important sites like the ports and railroads remain vulnerable to attack. Our borders remain alarmingly open to terrorist infiltration. 2/3 of our nation's fire departments respond to calls with less than adequate staffing. Even the promise of additional police on the beat has been forgotten, which doesn't seem to make much sense to me in an era of international terrorism. First responders place their lives at risk to provide security to the people of the United States. In return, we only ask that our elected officials fulfill the promises they made to help us do that job thoroughly and safely.
Good job. Good job. Nice job. I'm Jack Murtha, and I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And I know that Congress has no greater responsibility than providing for the national security of this great country. Our partnership promises strong national security, guaranteeing military strength second to none, stopping the spread of weapons of mass destruction, building strong diplomatic alliances to protect America's national interests, and collecting timely and reliable intelligence to keep us safe at home by preventing terrorist attacks before they occur. We'll guarantee that our forces, regular military, National Guard, and Reserve possess the most effective equipment available. And we'll make sure that our first responders have the resources and training they need to keep America safe. Democrats will also live up to our promises to our veterans and their families. Our injured and disabled veterans should not be denied the medical, educational, and economic benefits they were promised. On the battlefield, our troops pledge to have no soldier behind. When they come home, let it be our pledge we will leave no veteran behind. As a veteran, and this is personal to me, time and again, I've gone to Bethesda Naval Medical Center and/or to Walter Reed Army Medical Center to visit with the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who have sustained severe injuries. Their wounds are forever, and they deserve the unqualified care and respect of a grateful nation. Courage, service, bravery, sacrifice. The Democratic Partnership is committed to national security and to our veterans, and we will never abandon them. Thank you, Bonnie.
My name is Jennifer Davis, and I live in Portland, Oregon with my husband Greg and our two children, Silas and Mason. A month ago, I thought I was having a heart attack, so we rushed to the emergency room. Thankfully, I was fine, but the visit cost us $1,600. A few days later, my husband, who's normally very healthy, was diagnosed with a kidney stone. The procedure he needs will cost $10,000. Last year, we had good insurance coverage. Then, for the second time in 5 years, my husband lost his job because the company he worked for shut down. Now he's working at home consulting, and we can only afford catastrophic health insurance, which will only pay a small portion of our costs. So this year alone, we will spend more than our entire savings on medical bills. What do we do next year if another health emergency arises? Lots of our friends and neighbors are in this same boat, struggling to protect their family's health and to pay their bills. In fact, more than 5 million people in the U.S. have lost their health insurance over the past 4 years. Millions more simply can't afford to pay the rising premiums, deductibles, and copays. Many seniors and young families have to choose between medicine, housing, and other necessities of life. I hope my story helps you understand how frightening it is to face medical crises without health insurance. Fairness is a value our country stands for, but it just isn't fair for millions of Americans to live in fear of a family illness because they can't afford insurance.
Thank you, Jennifer. Muchas gracias. I'm Congresswoman Hilda Solis of California. Jennifer and your family, our partnership is dedicated to assuring that all Americans have access to health care and that no American is denied the medical services they need. That's one of the ways our partnership is dedicated to greater fairness, ensuring equal opportunity for all, including affordable health care for everyone, spending Social Security funds only on Social Security, and eliminating tax loopholes so that all Americans pay their fair share. The availability of quality health care is a measure of the fairness of a society, and there's no excuse for any American to lack medical care. From the well baby care to dignified care for senior citizens, America has the ability to provide unsurpassed, state-of-the-art care to prevent and treat illness. Our promise extends to our poor neighborhoods and rural areas that too often lack quality health services. And our partnership is committed to providing a real prescription drug benefit for seniors. I am reminded health care is a right and not a privilege. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out, and thank you to the leadership of this Congress for inviting us here today to share our stories here. My name is Luis Torres, and I'm a senior and the student body vice president at Georgetown University. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American. My father is an auto mechanic, and my mother works at a nursing home. And I'm here to share my story and to tell you a little bit about what's going on in college. College tuition has been increasing over the past 4 years. And with the increase in college costs and all sorts of other costs, students like me can't afford to pay for school without the involvement of Congress, without the help, and without the secure funds of financial aid, grants, and loans. I'm lucky I receive federal aid, and I also have a considerable amount of Georgetown scholarships. But there are millions of students across this country who can't afford to get a good post-secondary education because Congress hasn't fulfilled its promise to expand opportunities for students like myself. So with the average graduate debt, the number, $20,000, we don't need more expenses. We need more leadership, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
All right.
I don't think there's anything in us, there's nothing wrong in us asking for that type of leadership. Students, especially those students coming from working class backgrounds like myself, we want a Congress that's going to be there for us. A good education is the opportunity to get what every American wants in life. A shot at the American middle class, a shot at the American dream, but we need this Congress to step in, and so that's what we're here for today.
All right. All right. Thank you, Luis. I'm Congressman Kendrick Meek from Florida. Luis, it wasn't long ago that I was in school myself, and our partnership knows that education equals opportunity. Providing Americans access to the tools they need to succeed as they choose a vibrant public education system, accountable to the highest standards for every school and every chance for all children in America to reach their potential, including an affordable and accessible college education. Luis, the Partnership for America's Future shares your dream of higher education. We know that the dream is denied when students cannot afford a college education. We know that young graduates who are crippled by the crushing debt of student loans. Millions of promising students throughout our country are unable to attend colleges and universities because of federal cutbacks that have led to state cutbacks and grant and loans haven't kept up with the rising costs. The Democratic Partnership endorses the expansion of federal aid to give every qualified student access to education, because when promising students are denied education, we all lose. In America, ladies and gentlemen, in America, the opportunity to learn is the opportunity to succeed. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Tina Friedman. I live in Marlborough Township, New Jersey, home of 2 Superfund sites, one owned by Imperial Oil. For decades, companies at the Imperial Oil site impacted the environment with PCBs, arsenic, contaminated metals. Millions of dollars were already spent cleaning up the site, most of it coming from the federal and state agencies. Marlborough Township is like hundreds of communities within Superfund sites in this country, struggling to deal with the impact of contamination on our neighborhoods and fighting to get dollars to pay for cleanup. In many places, people who live near toxic waste sites have unusually high rates of cancer, birth defects, and disabling illness. Children, minorities, and lower-income people always seem to pay the biggest price. Since companies stopped paying the Superfund tax in 1995, taxpayers are picking up more and more of the cleanup costs instead of the companies that did the polluting in the first place. Companies should be held accountable to the communities they have polluted, and they should pay the price of cleaning up their waste. The safeties of our communities and our family depends on these toxic waste sites being thoroughly cleaned up. And we believe that those who cause the pollution, not the taxpayers, should pay.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tina. I am Congressman Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Tina, our new partnership believes in strong communities, working together for safe communities free of crime and drugs, supporting local businesses and groups to keep our families safe and our neighborhoods strong, and enforcing our anti-pollution laws to keep our air and our water clean and healthy, with polluters paying for the damage that they cause to American families. Americans want safe neighborhoods in which to raise their children, to protect themselves from the ravages of drugs and crime. Americans want vibrant neighborhoods to keep small businesses and volunteer organizations thriving. And Americans want clean neighborhoods. And it is on behalf of families like Tina Friedman's that we must make our neighborhoods healthy again. Tina Friedman is from New Jersey, but she could be from Massachusetts or Illinois or Pennsylvania or any of hundreds of Superfund sites in this country where families want to reclaim their neighborhoods, their playgrounds, their garden plots, and their drinking water. Who pays the cost of industrial pollution cleanup? Until now, the answer has been Tina Friedman pays. Under our new partnership, the answer will be the polluter pays.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Rice from Germantown, Maryland, and I'm here today with my wife, Tia. Thank you. And I'm here today with my wife, Tia, and my daughter, Anaya. This year, the federal government will have the biggest deficit in this country's history, over $400 billion. Now, just 4 years ago, we had nearly a $240 billion surplus, a huge difference. It's one thing to give speeches about fiscal responsibility, but with those kinds of deficit numbers, it doesn't look to me like Congress is serious about it. Deficits aren't just numbers on a page. Deficits mean less for students, less for veterans, less for schools, less for the unemployed, and for those needing health care. We are feeling the cutbacks in Montgomery County, Maryland, one of the richest nations in the country. And in every community across this country, we're seeing the same. Higher deficits mean higher interest rates, which mean families pay more for homes, cars, and future college tuition. And yet, all we hear from Congress is more tax cuts, which mostly go to the richest people and companies in the country. For the average person, any tax reductions we might have gotten have long since disappeared into higher gas prices and higher health insurance costs. I wonder, does anybody have a plan for controlling spending and bringing down deficits? Is anybody willing to be held accountable for the decisions that they make that affect us as Americans?
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. I'm John Tanner from Tennessee, and I couldn't have said it better, I tell you. Democrats know how critical fiscal responsibility is to the future of a strong and free America and to all of our citizens, especially our young ones like your daughter there. The Democratic partnership believes it is time for greater accountability, holding those in power responsible for their actions, requiring real consequences for CEOs and corporations who break the law at the expense of those who play by the rules, and acting responsibly for our children by restoring fiscal accountability and eliminating deficit spending. In 4 short years, our country has grown from a $5.6 trillion surplus to more than a $3 trillion deficit, a difference of almost $9 trillion with a whopping almost $500 billion deficit this year alone. This breathtaking irresponsibility not only adversely impacts our economy, as Craig said, but also leaves our country vulnerable to a potential national security threat. Foreign countries are now purchasing our $7.3 trillion debt in record amounts, and foreigners now own over 41% of the publicly held debt. We cannot be the world's leading economic and military power if government financing depends on funds from foreign countries, many of whom oppose America's policies. Democrats are committed to restoring budget discipline so that we do not impose a crushing debt on our children and grandchildren, and because no nation in all of recorded history has ever been strong, free, and bankrupt. Democrats are committed to pay as you go.
Thank you, John. Thank you all. Today, these outstanding men and women have described the unmet needs of our country, citing values we all share: economic prosperity for all, national security, safe communities, educational opportunity, a fair health policy, and accountability to the American people. The new Partnership for America's Future is our pledge to the American people to honor these values. We welcome all Americans to join us in building a strong and secure nation. House Democrats are united, focused, and totally committed to taking the bold steps needed to strengthen the middle class that is the heart of democracy. When the American people entrust us to set the legislative agenda of this House, we will succeed, and so will our country. We are here to serve the American people. It is their greatness, their fair-mindedness, their commitment to family, and their willingness to hope and dream that sustains our country. For more than 215 years, they have sent their representatives to Washington with a most awesome challenge: openly debate and fashion laws and policies that will make our economy sound, our institutions fair and flexible, our society just, our environment protected, our people educated and healthy, our religions and our beliefs free from constraint, and our homeland secure from terror. There has never been a group of legislators more capable of meeting that challenge than the House Democrats who are gathered here today. And there has never been greater urgency. This new partnership is our pledge to build a future worthy of the vision of our founding fathers, worthy of the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, and worthy of the aspirations of our children. President John F. Kennedy, delivering his inaugural address at this very building, reminded us of the great responsibility that has been given to us as elected representatives. He said in his inaugural address, "With good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking His blessing and His help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. And today, we go forward in a new partnership to lead the land we love. May God guide us in His work. May God bless all of you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
Hey, Cora.
Next, a response to the Democratic legislative agenda from House Republican leaders. After that, we'll have speeches from today's Senate floor debate on the nomination of Porter Goss to head the CIA. Tomorrow, President Bush meets in the Oval Office with the interim Prime Minister of Iraq, and afterwards they'll take questions from reporters in the Rose Garden at a little after noon Eastern on C-SPAN 3. After that, a hearing on the status of U.S. troops serving overseas. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Richard Myers will testify. The hearing starts 2:30 p.m. Eastern on C-SPAN 3.